Welcome back to Studio Metsä. Yesterday I asked on Instagram if people would be interested in hearing about what it is like to be in a long-term, serious, committed relationship to an art form. And 88%, if I'm not terribly mistaken, said yes, that they would be interested in hearing about it. So here I am, ready to talk about it. I've never understood how people can commit themselves to another person for the rest of their lives. And mind you, it's not that I don't think it's a great idea. It's not that I don't think it's beautiful, and it's not that I wouldn't want it for myself. But it's just something that I've never fully understood, because people change all the time. We evolve and circumstances change, and there's so many things that are constantly changing that it baffles me how people can stay committed and stay happy in a relationship for decade after decade after decade. But then I started thinking about my relationship to photography, and suddenly I got it. Because I wouldn't change it for the world. I might add some spices to it, I might do some things differently, and I might add some layers to it, but I would never change it. No way. My first big crisis with photography happened when I was studying photography in Vancouver. It was my second year. I was finishing my second year, and I had been doing this project called 365. So I was taking photos every day. So I would have 365 photos that I was proud of in 1 year. So I carried my camera everywhere, and then it got stolen. I was traumatized, I was angry, and I was sad, and that threw me into questioning everything about photography. Do I love photography? Do I want to do this anymore? Do I want to study photography? What am I doing? After the first semester of third year, I went on exchange to the Netherlands, and in one of my first classes, our teacher asked us to introduce ourselves and tell the class why we wanted to be a photographer. I said, "Hi, my name is Erika. I don't know if I want to be a photographer." And everyone started laughing. Only I wasn't kidding. At the time, I didn't know if I wanted to do this anymore. I didn't know, even though it was already 6 months after my camera was stolen, I had already had 1 semester in school studying photography, and yet I wasn't sure. In one of my other classes in the Netherlands, my teacher told me that she felt like my photos lacked emotion. And that came as a shock to me, because I'm a very emotional person, so I didn't understand how it's possible that my photos wouldn't convey emotion. At that point, I had been in a relationship with photography for 3 years, like in a committed, this is what I want to do relationship for 3 years. And the honeymoon was over, and I realized that I was still keeping photography at an arm's length. I was keeping my emotional distance to it because of my own intimacy issues. So I decided to challenge myself, and I went on this quest to find emotion in my photography. And I decided to do a project with self-portraiture. So I was going to photograph myself and try to find that emotion. That was the best way that I thought of to find that, because I needed to be in front of the lens, and I couldn't hide my emotions, because my emotions needed to be visible. They needed to come through in these photos. So I put my camera on a tripod, and I tried to frame that shot that I wanted, and then I put myself in it and just hit click and went to see what it looked like. It was a lot of work, especially because in order to get everything right, so the framing, the focus, the light, all of that, to get it right, I had to move back and forth between my camera and the location. And it took a lot of patience, which I am not so good at. And pretty much every time I started to photograph myself, 1, I did not want to do that. I didn't feel like it. Number 2, when I started doing it, all the photos looked like I was not happy with them. They did not look good, and they definitely did not encourage me or inspire me to continue. But I kept going, and this is my number 3 point, that when I just kept going, despite all of the things proving me that this is not working, me not feeling like it, and the photos turning out like crap, when I still pushed myself and I kept going and I went past that pain threshold and I started to enjoy it, and I would be so inspired and so happy and so excited, and my emotions would come through in these photographs. And slowly I started to fall in love with photography again. I went back to Vancouver for my final year of my bachelor's degree, and I started taking more classes in ceramics and video. I fell in love with video before my exchange. That was already in my second year. I took film class. I took a film class, and what I remember saying at the time was that it's like photography, but it moves, and it has sound. And that's one of the things that I've learned about being in a relationship, in any relationship, although I have to say that still photography remains the longest committed relationship, romantic. Okay, so I shouldn't say that, but it's been the longest committed relationship for me that is so intense. And what I learned from it is that we have to start looking at the relationship in new ways. We have to start doing things in a new way in order to keep that relationship fresh and in order to keep going after the crisis happens. Throughout the years, photography has really shown me its many faces. It's like nature, it's always exciting, it's always changing, and it never gets boring. It took me 5 years after high school to come to terms with the fact that, number one, I admitted it to myself that I want to study photography, and number two, that I felt that I was good enough to apply and to actually get accepted, because I did apply to study photography right after high school, but because I didn't really believe in myself, I didn't really think that it was possible, of course I didn't get accepted. So it took me 5 years to just get out of my own way and accept that it is possible for me to actually do something that I love to do, to learn more about it, and then make it my profession. And now it's almost 13 years from me making that decision to go study photography. And I just can't believe that it's been almost 13 years of me being in a completely amazing relationship with photography. These years have been the easiest and the hardest of my entire life, but I wouldn't change it for the world, because this is the path that I'm supposed to be on, and it's the only way that I can really be me in this world. It's the way that I experience life. It's the way that I look at life. It's just like encoded in me. It is in my veins. It's in my cells. It's everywhere in me. It's just how I am in this world. Photography has always been there to make me feel better when I'm angry or sad or anxious. Photography is what I love to travel with. Photography is just there, present in my everyday life all of the time. And it has taken me to places that I probably wouldn't have gone otherwise. And it's taken me to Vancouver. It's totally changed my life. It's totally uprooted me, and it's made everything so much more powerful and impactful and meaningful in my life. Photography has given me purpose in my life. It's given me the meaning, the reason why I get up in the morning. Photography forces me to face myself, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything in between. It's not easy, but what other way is there to live? It's giving me a way to experience myself, to understand myself, to communicate myself, and to communicate with others. Photography is my life. Maybe that's why I haven't spoken about it, because it is just so damn close to my heart that it's hard to open up about it sometimes. Living life full-time with anything that is truly in your heart, it's exhausting and exhilarating. It's life-giving and it's life-sucking. What better way is there to live? For me, it's when I'm in photography, when I'm working, and by the way, for me, photographing is all of the time, even when I don't have that camera. That's also one of the things that I've learned in my 13 years of being in this business, is that camera is a tool that we use. It is not what makes the photo. Our eyes are the ones that make the photo, and we can make photos all of the time, even when we don't carry our cameras. Photography is a way of life. Living in a committed relationship to any art form or anything that you feel a desire or calling to is a way of life. It is not a job that you do, it is your life. And that's why I can't separate photography from my life or from myself, because it is so intertwined, and it is what makes sense of life to me. Even if I didn't have a camera, I would look at life as if I did. Life is yours to choose. So let's make these choices that make us happy, that bring joy to our lives, even if sometimes they come the hard way. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to follow me on Instagram, like the Facebook page, to go on my website, to buy my new calendar, to do all these things that supports me if you feel called out to do that. But I really appreciate you watching this, and I hope that I'll see you sooner than ever long it's been from the last video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.